Hello you lovely lot and welcome to a new video. It's been a little while. I had a few people ask if I was okay, so I do appreciate that. I have just been very busy with commissions and other work and I had to put YouTube aside for a bit, so I'm back with a review, so hopefully you'll enjoy it. So today I'm going to be doing a review. This is for the Tourbox Neo. This was sent to me by Tourbox Tech for free to try out. And this isn't a paid review or an ad or anything like that. I was just asked to try it out for a few weeks and put together a video telling you what I thought about it. So the Tourbox Neo is a controller which is designed for use by artists, video editors, all kinds of creators, as an all-in-one solution which will allow them to use shortcuts more easily without always having to reach for the mouse or keyboard. And the end goal is kind of for the user to be able to use it without even looking at it, so you can just focus fully on your creative process. The Tourbox Neo comes presented in this box, which includes safety instructions, a guide for downloading the software, a quick start guide in multiple languages, then the Tourbox itself plus its cable, each in their own little bags. The cable is a standard USB to Type-C USB and it feels very sturdy. Then there's the Tourbox itself. This device has a combination of 14 dials and buttons which can be customised pretty much however you want, and it comes in this nice matte black surface with a slight texture to it. The first thing I noticed about the Tourbox that surprised me a bit was the weight, so I didn't expect it to be quite that heavy. I weighed it and it came in around 356 grams, plus it has little rubber grips on the bottom, so it's not going anywhere once you've put it on your desk. And I was really pleased with this because I've had multiple mouse pads and other things that have just slid around the desk all the time, but once you put this down, it's just staying put, so I was really pleased with that. Setting up the Tourbox was really easy. There's a leaflet in the box with the link that you need to go to, and then once you've done that, you just choose the version you need depending on your operating system. At the time of downloading, the software was available for Windows and Mac. I had some people asking if this was available for iPad. To my knowledge, unfortunately, it's not. I have a little games controller which I use with my iPad for additional shortcuts, so that is a thing that you can do, but for the PC this is kind of a dedicated solution. As you hover over the name of each button within the Tourbox software, it'll highlight where that button is on the device so you can easily see which is which is really helpful. There are existing presets for many different types of software, or you can download presets that other users have made from the Tourbox site, or alternatively, you can just start from scratch and make your own. I decided to download a Clip Studio preset which was made by another user and then make some edits to it just to better fit my workflow. On top of programming each button, you can also program combinations of buttons or a double press of a certain button to have a different function, so there's almost endless possibilities. I have a limited selection of these just because I couldn't really remember that many, but I think it's a really great option to have. For example, I set the button on the left side to save when I press once, or be the equivalent of a shift key press when you press it twice, so that I can draw straight lines easily. You can also change the speed of some of the dials to slow, so if you find that they tend to move too fast when you turn them, you can change that on screen. So I changed the large middle dial to zoom and then just felt like it was going too quickly, so I slowed it down and it worked a lot better for me. I really like that this is an option to give the device even more flexibility. When you're done with the software, it minimises onto your taskbar and runs in the background, but if you want, you can also have the D-pad visible on your screen with your shortcuts for it at a glance. You can move it around wherever and put it where you want as well. I didn't particularly want it there, so I just turned it off, which is also an option, but I think it's really handy to have there. As you can see, my workspace is very small, not least because I made the decision to buy a very large tablet for a fairly small working area, so I was a bit worried this wouldn't fit in, but I managed to find a little space for it next to my keyboard. My tablet has express keys along the side, which I would normally use along with my keyboard for my shortcuts, but their placement, with one of them being along the back of the tablet, means that I'm usually stretching forward a little bit to press them, and having the Tourbox at the side meant that I could rest my hand at what felt like a more natural angle with my elbow at a right angle. The cable is about 1 meter long, which allowed me to position it on my desk with the USB cable plugged into my computer underneath the desk. It doesn't have a Bluetooth connection, which may be an issue for some people if they prefer their devices to be wireless or just their desk area to generally be more cable-free, which mine is absolutely not. I prefer USB because my computer is really temperamental with Bluetooth. One thing I was a bit concerned about with the Tourbox was that it mentions in the quick start guide how it's intended for use with your left hand. I'm left-handed, so obviously I'd be using it with my right hand. And I sent an email and Tourbox confirmed this device is generally designed around being used with your left hand, but there's no reason you can't use it with your right. And when I tried it out, I found that I didn't have any particular difficulty getting used to using it with my right hand, which was a relief. I think the two buttons on the right side of the device, which I presume are originally intended to be used with your left thumb, are possibly the most awkward for me to reach for, but I just need to kind of lift my hand off the Tourbox and use those buttons with my index finger and middle finger instead. Outside of that, I didn't really find any glaring issues. It didn't take me too long to get used to. Another potential issue was that I have very small hands, so I was a bit worried this would be a bit too big for me to use, but I haven't really needed to kind of stretch out to reach for any of the buttons, and they seem to be very well placed. The buttons themselves are very tactile, they've got good grips on them, and many of them give a satisfying click when you press them. The dials can actually be clicked as well, so they have multiple functions. You can spin them and you can click them, but I did find that on the left-hand dial it can be quite easy to accidentally turn it while you click it. The D-pad at the bottom is roughly the same size as the D-pad on a games controller, so it feels pretty natural for someone who plays games as well. I had my keyboard still in front of my tablet while I was using this because I also needed to do some typing, but I did, after a little while, find this comfortable enough to use that I could put my keyboard aside, and I did quite frequently outside of recording this video. I don't use every single button or every combination of buttons because there's just so many possibilities I wouldn't be able to remember them all, but it would be possible to have dozens of combinations on here. I mostly use it for my most frequently used functions when I'm drawing, which is brush size, zooming in and out, rotating or flipping the canvas, saving, copying and pasting, and switching my foreground and background colours. I think my favourite part of this controller would be the dials. I just found them very easy and natural to use for spinning the canvas, increasing or decreasing my brush size, and zooming in and out. I didn't have an equivalent for rotating the canvas previously, and it just feels so much quicker and easier to be able to do that. My equivalent before for zooming in and out was the slider on the back of my tablet, which I had to kind of reach over a little bit further to use, and I had the brush size button on the pen itself, which just felt a little bit awkward. So being able to have one hand on this controller and just switching between those functions very quickly and easily without breaking my drawing flow just felt very natural. It took me a few weeks to feel completely comfortable enough solely using the Tourbox, so I was glad I was given enough time to be able to do that, because with a lot of reviews, I tend to get asked to make them very quickly without giving me much chance to properly try out the product. So I was really glad that I was given that opportunity to actually properly get used to it and integrate it into my workflow and see how it would function as something I was using all the time. And that's what I have been doing. I've genuinely been using this product pretty much all day, every day since I got it, and I think at this point it's become an integral part of my workflow. And this sounds really sponsored, but I promise it's not. I genuinely just really like this product, and I think that while I wouldn't have bought one because of the price tag, I would have thought, do I really need that because I already have buttons on my tablet? Now that I've got one, I don't think I could go back to using the old buttons. I think it's helped my posture for sure, which was an unexpected side effect, to be honest. I was just thinking, will it make my workflow any quicker or easier? But I think the way I sit is slightly better because my right arm is at a more natural angle instead of always being bent to reach for the buttons on the side or the back of my tablet. And it just makes my working process overall feel more comfortable. And I've also included footage just along the bottom right of me actually using the controller so that you can see how much I reach for it while I'm drawing. As for the actual illustration that I'm doing here, because I can't go for a whole video without talking about my OCs, this is Luca, who is my character for one of my D&D group's upcoming Monster Hearts campaigns. So my Beyond Skeletons pirate group finished our big Ghost of Saltmarsh campaign. We are now moving on to trying Monster Hearts, and this is going to be my character, Luca Grayling, who is going to be the Fae. So I think they're going to be very interesting to play. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I will report back on the campaign when we have some stories from it. But in the meantime, I just had this quick idea for kind of a fashion pose of this character. I think they have two modes. They go from like pajama gremlin to being very well dressed and surprising everyone. So I decided to go for the more well dressed option for this one, but I hope that everybody likes it. They were a lot of fun to draw. Overall, I was really pleasantly surprised with the Tourbox. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. I've been debating trying something like this for a while after getting a games controller to do kind of the equivalent with my iPad, and I just didn't know if I could warrant the cost. This one is £169, or at least it is while I record this video, and obviously that's not cheap. It may be a barrier to some people who can't warrant that price. So I wasn't sure about it, but now that I've got it, it's become an integral part of my workflow, and I definitely want to keep it and continue using it. I tend to give away stuff that I get for reviews after I'm done, because I don't necessarily need them, but for this one, I think I'm definitely going to keep this, and I'm just really genuinely pleased with how naturally it fitted into my workflow. I think it would be interesting to see if there'll be a dedicated version with the controls flipped for left-handed users, considering that there tends to be an assumption that everyone is right-handed with a lot of devices. You know this, I'm always talking about this stuff with tablets. But I think that would be interesting to see. Personally, I didn't have too much issue adapting to using this as a left-handed person. It didn't feel like the buttons were particularly awkwardly placed, so that was nice. I do like just how customizable this controller is. Like, you can literally change the function of pretty much every single button. You can have multiple functions on one button, you can have a function for multiple buttons. It's just so versatile, and the option to set your presets for different types of software so that you can switch between them really effortlessly, I just think that's really good, and it just kind of integrates itself into your work without being an obstacle that gets in your way. If you're interested in getting one of these for yourself, I do have an affiliate link in the description box below. If you decide to purchase one through that link, then I get a little bit of money. You can use the coupon code BEX, B-E-X, to get $10 off of your purchase if you decide to get one. So thank you for watching, I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm a little bit rusty because obviously it's been a while since I put a video together, but yeah, hopefully you still enjoyed it. I do really appreciate your support as always. My other social media can be found in the description box if you wanted to follow me anywhere else where I tend to be more active, but I do appreciate your support regardless of where it is. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you in the next video, whenever that might be. So thank you everybody, bye bye bye!